Thank you very much. And thank you to Marilyn as well for hosting. This is an amazing venue for poetry and music, and I really love it here. I also want to let you know, Marilyn, that the double latte with lavender is exquisite. That's my new favorite drink. Thank you. And oh, one more thing I need to tell Marilyn, and that is that my 8-year-old son has named his leopard gecko after your dog. We have a leopard gecko named Zippy, and it makes me think of here every time we feed it crickets. It eats crickets, which I'm not so crazy about, but he's a really cute little guy. Your Zippy's sweeter, though. Well, I have mostly poems that I'm going to read from my chapbook titled Impossible Lessons, and thank you for that very nice introduction, Dwayne, and enthusiasm about my chapbook. And I appreciate your appreciating chapbooks as an art form, and now that I know that you hand make chapbooks, that's just really cool. That is a wonderful thing. And who did I meet tonight who has a brand new chapbook? Yes. Hold it up.
You're going on YouTube.
It's super gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Very nice.
Yeah, my book came out today, guys.
Wow. As I understand it, you'll be featuring in October?
For my birthday.
Excellent. For your birthday?
Maybe. October 6th.
October
So
6th.
somewhere around that.
You're like on the 9th.
Very good. We'll look forward to your preview tonight, I hope. Yes. Well, also thanks to all of you for being here tonight and listening and coming out in a rainstorm for poetry and music.
What was that?
And we're in this wonderful warm place to share words and thoughts and sounds together. I'll start with a couple of poems about writing and inspiration. First one's sort of a stormy poem. You know when the wind shifts and it comes from the north, like down from Canada, and it's really dry? That unsettles me a lot, but it feels like an inspiring sort of wind, even though it's very unsettling. Awaiting the muse. The wind has changed direction, and from land, the bay looks angry about something. Listen, the wind is imposing secrets on the whitecaps. The cedars hum and the maple leaves crack. Try and you can see the firs arrowing up from the little island inhabited only by ancestors. This north wind dries and tugs like a local moon forbidding spaces, like the fact of the ocean, there always with its lifting and pulling down, its constant sounds, its vastness, a source and a cold threat. What buoyant thing can save me? What offers warmth but the small songs invented from my fear? Thank you. Here's another poem about how poems happen when there's sort of a gift. Strange bird. What bird are you? Hawk-shaped, gray, tail striped and neck ringed in white. You hover and swoop low, a few feet above the hay stubble, spying for mice. Once you dart down, scramble in the grass, lost to my view as you sate your raptor's appetite on some ground-bound creature. But if hunting's your purpose, why do you round me in your sights? Why do you line me in your orbits between flights to the field's far corners? What am I to you? I wander further, amble the field, then you return again, hover, and drop this poem into my mouth.
Ooh, sweet!
A few dream poems. I tend to, my dreams are really weird, I think everybody's are, but and so it's hard to tell a story based on a dream sometimes. So I usually don't have a narrative line. They're just sort of, they jump, they leap. But the images are fascinating. And I thought, well, if one way to make a poem is to pull random words, I'm really looking forward to the improv segment tonight. I've seen Dwayne do this, and I've seen a few other people, and it completely impresses me. I don't know that I can think that fast on my feet, but it really impresses me, and I love taking a word list and trying to make a poem from it. But I thought, okay, what about images from dreams? That's another weird and lively source of inspiration for writing poems from. This one's called A Dream, a Bird, continuing on the bird theme. A lot of birds in my poems. Birds seem to show up. Yeah. A dream, a bird, a profusion of blue feathers, turquoise and violet, cerulean, like a peacock in its spectrum, but profounder in its knowing, an eagle perhaps, or an iridescent raven. It was a messenger and a message, the wording of which I can't remember, but the substance sensed with me and in me like breath ruffled by wings. And the intensity of its presence, like the gift of seeing a hummingbird close by, its thrum hovering over blossoms, and after it buzzes upwards and recedes, glinting back into the sky, the fullness of the silence.
Beautiful. Oh, yeah.
Woo! Thanks a lot. Here's one called Climate Change. My grandmother lived to be 96. Yeah, I come from a line of very long-lived women. Her mother lived to be 93, and I knew her until I was 10 years old. It was a wonderful thing to know my great-grandmother for much of my childhood, and her daughter, my grandmother, lived to be even longer. And she died 5 years ago, this past January, and I've been thinking about her a lot. This poem was written about 8 years ago. Climate change. It's roses already this hot May, usually the month of rhododendrons and buttercups blooming. But this year the lilacs have finished early, like the tulips before them, and now it's the roses pried open by the early heat. The bees rush around, loading their legs with pollen they know won't last. Spring and summer compressed hold a meaning too urgent to waste time pondering it. I dreamed last night of visiting my grandmother, also a rose, and of her not hearing my knock and call at her door. I had emeralds for her, in a box held in my two flat palms, and I watched through the glass front door as she moved about her living room. Unsurprised at her nakedness, I noticed instead the flesh she had put on, her frail frame of 9 decades suddenly rounded and robust, not gone backward in time into her younger body, but forward, so that her curvaceous form moved with anticipation now, as she continued not to hear me knocking, deaf to all but her own faint humming in the middle days of spring as she loaded living onto her legs. Here's a more recent one that's not in my chapbook, that I borrowed some dream imagery. I saw a headline that inspired this a couple of months ago. Whistleblower fired from nuclear cleanup site. And I thought, oh, not again. So this is a persona poem. I imagined I was that whistleblower who got fired. So I went home, slept, and dreamt I had 3 hands. I was beside a pond, and every narrow willow leaf transformed into an eyelid of the gods, each silver-green leaf widening on an amethyst iris and a luminous saffron pupil. In my hand, I found a gold molecule of pollen spinning and humming. In my other hand, a goddess knelt and pressed the pentagon into my flattened palm. In my third hand appeared the scent of pine in the sun. The goddess stood and spoke. A good day at work is like virtue rewarded from afar, like swallowing sage honey as remedy for sage allergy. or kenning the spatial relationship between capillary and capacious. In the wind-fluted lake of my mind, I saw again the willow leaves and understood my new occupation was to be conscious of their watching. It was my dream job, keeping an eye on those million small eyes of the gods, which winked and assured me, keep going, you are armed for this. You can hurl our likeness at them for as long as you must. Okay, now the real fun. I'm going to read you some philosophical poems, and the first one comes with an obscenity warning. Is anybody familiar with the British poet Philip Larkin?
Mm-hmm.
He writes these just incredibly witty, rhyming, stab you in the gut, funny poems. And there's one he's got called This Be the Verse that my poem refers to, and I think it's only fair that I give you Philip Larkin's poem first. And I want to do this also because I think it's the only poem ever, including my own poems, that I've ever fully memorized. Rhymed poems are a lot easier to memorize, I think. All right, This Be the Verse by Philip Larkin. They fuck you up, your mom and dad. They may not mean to, but they do. They fill you with the faults they had and add some extras just for you. But they were fucked up in their turn by fools in old-style hats and coats, who half the time were soppy stern and half at one another's throats. Man hands down misery to man, it deepens like a coastal shelf. Get out as early as you can and don't have any kids yourself. Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah,
He's so bitter and so funny. How does he do that?
So right.
Yeah, he's right on. He just nailed it. Right. So yeah, I'm sort of in awe of that poem. Even though I'm not a bitter person, it's fun to just stay in that feeling for a while. Okay, so my philosophical poem here is I'm not going to complain about my parents. I'm not going to complain about my children. It's actually a series of persona postcards called Greetings to the New Poet. Philip Larkin sends one of the postcards. Greetings to the new poet. 1. Socrates to the new poet. Congratulations. You have discovered the oneness of the good, the true, and the beautiful. Though I bar you from governing, I commend you for being in love. 2. The Buddha to the new poet. The good is illusory. The true is mutable. The beautiful is in the eye of the impermanent. Have compassion on them, for they shall see death. 3. Wallace Stevens to the new poet. Death is the mother of beauty, else I am no modernist. Congratulations on discovering that writing poems is a means of rubbing up against the gold indifferent shins of the divine. 4. Jesus to the new poet. I say unto you, death is no more than the mother of beauty. And the kingdom of heaven is like my 1,000 secret names dropping onto your tongue unbidden. In this world of becoming, I am the first draft, the final revision, all that you have been looking for. Go in peace. 5. Philip Larkin to the new poet. They fuck you up, these imposing voices of the fathers. Anyhow, congratulations. You have succumbed to the allure of the good and the true. Beautiful that you have given me the last word. Go and sin no more.
Right.
A couple more philosophical poems. Placebo effect. So I go to the doctor of philosophy for my annual metaphysical. He asks me the usual questions. Any irregularity with your epistemology? Are the meds still helping with those intermittent bouts of doubt? I tell him yes, but recently they have taken on a hyper-Cartesian tinge, going beyond the use of not as a helpful tool for testing a suspect reality. The problem has progressed to a troublesome tendency toward generalized negation, a habit of rejecting every supposition. The doc says, then we'd better increase your dosage to get this under control. With your phenomenological pressure so elevated, I think you are at risk of rupture. Well, I say, that may be, but how would you know? He's good, that doc. He comes right back with, how do you know that you're not? So we agree I'll try a higher dose. But don't go thinking I am going to believe that it will work.